Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from intermediate linguistic pedagogy, shortwave audio interception loops, and the bilingual text grids of German-graded readers, and plunge straight into the high-octane calculation-heavy tracking grids of multi-system tabletop strategy, weaponized dungeon tactical layout deployment loops, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered collection of raw session planning assets running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, paranoia-slicked parameters of a scorched, dark tabletop game master station, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of a devastating multi-layered story arc generation matrix with the Dungeon Master's campaign journal, the exceptional pulse-pounding contemporary campaign tracker and comprehensive organization system engineered by the absolute undisputed global sovereign of breathtaking encounter secrets, razor-sharp NPC profiling traps, and high-velocity structural friction, Dessa Lorewright. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where an endangered primary storyteller asset running an unyielding page count extraction loop, a calculating manipulative shadow network of rules lawyer enforcers running an elite proximity tracking and standard sanity erasure routine, and an absolute defense against an encroaching improvisation-confined writer's block containment zone collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn creative journeys where endangered, hyper-observant world-building protagonists must navigate an absolute maze of rigged monster stat documentation, corrupt non-player character blueprints, and a deadly ring of active personal deadline frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised domestic ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated desk space boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, weaponizing highly advanced digital distraction mechanics, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, meticulously paced tabletop campaign incubator, tracking an ambitious game master who deploys advanced session and NPC dossiers to systematically forge a complete story arc before crossing a terminal session 0 milestone diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Lorewright completely dominates the high-precision mechanical jeopardy meets suffocating narrative erasure puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating blank-page paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like Gary Gygax, Matthew Mercer, Brandon Sanderson, and Tracy Hickman, while treating realistic encounter logistics, complex dark possessive loyalty arcs, and protective high-density isolation extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse creative asset, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of a total loss of improvisational safety networks, absolute emotional liquidation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within a cutthroat competitive gaming matrix. Behind our protagonist's rigorous daily footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden structural vulnerabilities, deeply buried storytelling instincts, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following an abrupt plot outline deviation sequence, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from a network of internal distraction forces, parsing complex behavioral shifts in her daily plotting interaction loops, and shielding her vulnerable personal sovereignty node from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleaning crew offensive. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the large family living spaces, dark library corridors, and private fortified study rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve her focus before her adversary's relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, shifting dynamically through precise execution guidelines from initial mechanical and counterbalance to final structural session release loops, determined to deploy deep sensory manipulation loops, continuous psychological gaslighting via digital distraction maneuvers, and persistent dominance to shatter her defense, only to realize her hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speeds step for step. Every midnight archival excavation of personal legal journals, every silent choice to stand off against an electronic apex predator behind standard structural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Dessa Lorewright reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial week 1 ambush or managing an invasive friendship disclosure. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and absolute structural supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their building creative survival alliance, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes production breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated obsession has tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient protagonist must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a tabletop RPG campaign management, tactical captivity noir, NPC profiling mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one unsubverted plot hole triggers a fatal deadline showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Lorewright writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, fountain pen ink, heavy matte paper, multi-sided dice plastics, dark adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary instructional marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The Dungeon Master's Campaign Journal is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputtable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.